Congratulations and felicitations.
Okay, here comes the first round.
Boom. And
Jeez, that was just
boom.
unnecessary.
You kidding me? You can't be out of range? What? Greetings and felicitations, YouTube. You're all of the Appian Way here, and this is another LARP update on this lovely adventure that I'm taking into Malleus LARP. And I put out the question to the grander community, what kind of character would you like to see me play? I had the video, I've got plenty of comments, I got feedback on Discord, and this one's really cool. I gotta show you this. This kind of blew my mind that I got this much engagement there, but I was very happy for it nonetheless. I asked the question, there's a LARP near me that has a Warhammer Fantasy inspiration. Which character should I make a costume for and play? What blew my mind was out of 550 votes, we had a tie. It was a tie between Bretonnian Peasant and Empire Handgunner. Just, I love this kind of stuff. It's great. But as you can see, I voted, and I voted for Bretonnian Peasant, and I think my vote counts for 2. Not only that, but also in my conversations with members of the community, it looks like the Leonese faction, I think is the pronunciation, is in much more need of players than the Markland faction, which is what I would be playing if I went for the Empire Handgunner. Today is about making this peasant, so let's figure out what I have to do next to make that happen. Alright, so the very first thing we have to establish is what do we already own that could work. I've got a couple of pieces here that I was just kind of digging through. This right here is a gambeson. While it is period appropriate, it's not necessarily good for the character concept. We are talking about a filthy serf after all, so let's get that out of there. Next up is, now these are drawstring pants. Obviously not gonna cut it, not good for the setting. Why obviously? Well, because like this kind of elastic drawstring portion of the whole thing isn't appropriate for the period. It's got these pockets which are useful, but also again not necessarily part of the attire, not really what we're going for. But what does work on this is, the tattered, destroyed aspect of it all down here. I don't know. This could work if I just completely cut off the waistband and replace it with rope. And then last but not least, a big honking cloak. Look at this thing. This thing is, here, I gotta put this up on a different camera. A big, stinking cloak. I'm gonna put this on so you can see just how giant this thing is. It is huge. It goes all the way down to my toes. I'm a 6'2" tall guy, and the hood itself, maybe if I was playing a Jedi Master this would work, but I'm not, so this is out of the picture for peasant serf. Maybe in the winter, I don't know, probably not though. I'm just that's out of the picture too. I'm really gonna have to dig deeper and make some purchases, and probably also look for some stuff to sew, which is going to involve a special guest. Now, Malleus does have some fairly strict, I guess is the best word, costuming requirements for its players. And they also happen to have their own costuming guideline for each of the factions. I currently do not have access to that guideline. I've been trying for a couple of weeks now to find somebody who might have an old copy of it, but the URL for it that's currently available through Malleus's Facebook page and group is an old link and doesn't actually get me access to the materials. I have to go off of the other resources they've left available, which is, character inspiration pictures. They've created their own Pinterest board full of different stuff in here, and I've used a lot of this for some of the inspiration, but I've also heard from players who only had like Warhammer Fantasy as an inspiration. They've been able to make costumes and been able to go just fine, even without access to the costuming guidelines document that they provided. So we're just going to kind of wing it based off of what we have. So let's take a look at their Kingdom of Leonesse Pinterest. And the first one that draws my eye is obviously this. This is a picture from one of the AEG role-playing games, these style cloaks here, the hoods, those are all over the place, and I'm sure I can find a pattern for making something just like that. You even see that in Warhammer Fantasy. I like the tunic there, it's obvious. The pig, though, that's an accessory I can't quite get my hands on, and I'm definitely not going to go barefoot. That's gonna kill me. Now, something that's interesting here is that if I make sure that, you know, I could maybe make those pants work if I do like they did here and make sure that the tunic line goes past the waistline. You know, just kind of a quality of life thing there, but we'll see about that. Also, the pitchfork. I really want a pitchfork. It's hard to find a LARP pitchfork. I've been looking around and I haven't found any LARP-safe pitchforks yet, so we'll see about that. Let's see what else they have here. Another one is potential inspiration. Again, check out those tattered pants. The tunic goes past the waistline, so maybe I can make that work. I have belts just like this. A little bit different, actually. That one's a little strange, though, because it's not a ring belt, it's a buckle belt. But then he looped it through like it's a ring belt anyway. And that weapon is, get that out of here. The bracers, maybe, but I'm definitely going for the tattered pants and the old coffee-stained tunic look thing here. The shoes are useful. The shoes look like they're made out of cloth, frankly. I'm not sure how to make shoes like that. Because I might be able to buy shoes like that, but I don't know. We'll come back to shoes later. And again, here's that hood. That hood is almost mandatory. And oh my god, look at the teeth on this guy. I could paint out. I could get like black paint cover one of my teeth. Could work. I like that. Okay, let's go back. I'm gonna remember that because I'm thinking this character is gonna go. I'm probably gonna try something with makeup. I have a thought about making him like a former pox survivor and just like speckle all over his face, so it looks like he survived like 3 decades worth of acne, you know, that kind of look. Oh, if that isn't the most Bretonian thing I've seen yet. I could go with tights. I have tights, but they're not colorful. But that's a possibility. And again, there's, you know, those look like cloth shoes, don't they? The helmet, I'm not gonna go for it. This guy is definitely not somebody who could afford to actually protect himself. So there's just the pieces from the Pinterest board. Let's take a look now at some of the pictures of Bretonian peasants from Warhammer. So here we have some Bretonian models from Warhammer and from artwork. Actually, I think all of this is from Warhammer. Yeah, all of it is. But we've got a look here at a couple of peasant mobs and a look at the men-at-arms units. And there's some definite takeaways here. I like the grungy look of these men-at-arms in particular. Let's get a closer look at these. You can see, you know, the face scars. I'm definitely not going to go for the helmets or anything, but you'll notice that hood is still there. It's a recurring theme, and I could definitely do something with that kind of style hood. We'll assume not wealthy enough for, you know, shoulder guards or even wooden jewelry. Maybe if he makes some money, I'll give him wooden jewelry. I also like the use of ropes. Look at this. Rope across the chest for all of these guys. The chest and the gut line there too. They all have little pocket knives. Maybe I'll have a knife. Maybe. I don't know. I think best case scenario, he's gonna have an axe. But, you know, primarily is like a wood cutting tool. They all have these like long tunics that come all the way down to their ankles, and then covering what seems to be a skirt, and then their shoes, those at least look well protected. And then they've also got like strappy wraps around the fingers, around the wrists. Those are neat. And there's definitely like a tunic over top of something with long sleeves. Anyway, those are the men-at-arms. I don't know how much of that I'm actually going to be using, but there's something to keep in mind. Let's take a look now, though, at the peasants themselves. Again, there's that hood. So that hood is obviously a staple of the attire. I'm going to be rolling around with some kind of hood. I love this weapon. That's so cool. That's definitely awesome looking. I think the best thing I'm going to be able to find, though, is going to be a shovel. And I know there's a LARP shovel out there. I'd vastly prefer a pitchfork. I think the pitchfork, it will make the character. It'll make it very obvious this is a peasant. He's got a pitchfork, you know. But even the mobs have this bracer thing going on, right at the wrist. So I don't know. Maybe I could probably make a cloth bracer. I have the ability to make leather bracers, but I think going the route of leather seems a little bit out of the way, because considering even like the next step up, the men-at-arms, these are guys who are career soldiers apparently. They're not even wearing any leathers. There's no leather here. I do really like those corded chest belts. I gotta look into that. Okay, so the to-do list of things here, right? Cloth shoes, because that's what they look like anyway. Tattered pants. A form of tunic that's actually pretty fairly long. Even the Bretonnian peasants seem to wear really long tunics or cloaks over that. That's going to be a little warm, though. I don't think I'm going to go full robe quite yet, because the next event is in August. So, like, definitely don't want to be wearing that much heavy cloth in the summer. I think I want rope. Lots of rope to help me hold everything together and help keep everything up. I think those pants are going to work out. The drawstring pants, just so long as I keep the waist of them covered, that should work out just fine. Maybe cloth bracers and that pitchfork. Gotta get that pitchfork. And there's also another thing that's important. I already mentioned the makeup plan I have for this character with, like spots and everything all over the face. There's one more significant piece to that I kind of want to show you all. This is a conversation that I had with a friend who just kind of, on a whim, she posted out there that she's collected over $1,000 worth of perfume, and if you want any advice for LARP characters or whatever, to hit her up. And I was like, well, now wait a second. If I'm going to play a Bretonnian peasant, I'm going to need to stink. So I reached out to her about this, and I was like, hey, do you have anything that'll make me smell bad? But admittedly, I'm still vain and don't really want everybody to hate me at the same time, so I don't want to stink that bad, but I don't know, I think I can make something happen. She had several suggestions for me, describing Penny Dreadful and Mary Shelley as loamy. I have no idea what that actually means. I'm gonna look that up, 1 second. So in particular, loam is a sweet, dark earth odor, but less pungent than potting soil, and not as aromatic as truffles. Loamy, denoting or relating to a fertile soil of clay and sand containing humus. That is so specific. Okay, so I can smell like a farm. I think that's what that's trying to describe. But this other suggestion she had, burial perfume oil from Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab. But this part's important. She mentions that if we go with them, I can get sample vials and they'll send freebies. So that sounds like the affordable way to go. I'm gonna go look at their website real quick. All right, well here I am now on the Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab page, and I can apparently get sizes of this as cheap as $4.60. So I think I'm gonna just dive on in and go for this. I love the tags. The tags say it all. They're dark side, the, death, cemetery. Oh, I see it. The dark side, cemetery, death. The death. What is the format of these tags? What's going on here? Element, earth, floral, forest, juniper, patchouli. So the dark side of earth, deep brooding forest scents including juniper and patchouli, the scent of upturned cemetery loam, there's that word again, mingling with floral offerings to the dead. I'm gonna smell like death, but at least somebody felt necessary to sprinkle some flowers over top of it. To me, that sounds like a peasant who got too close to the Bretonnian nobility, and they're like, ooh, that's rank. Here, just take some rose petals to take that edge off. I'm definitely getting this. I'm definitely getting this. This will help make the character. So thank you, friend. I'm not naming you because I didn't tell you I'm doing this, but your advice has been lovely. This is great. So this is my wife.
Hi.
She's really smart about costuming and has made pieces for me before for LARPs. Made plenty of pieces for herself. Can I show them pictures?
Sure.
I'll show pictures. They'll be somewhere. But what we're looking at right now are various patterns that we can find in order to make some stuff. She knows what the project is, and she's gonna kind of talk me through some of these tabs here that we've set up of, what is this? This is Reconstructing History?
Yeah, this is a company that makes as authentic as they can manage historical clothing patterns. As you can see, it's his early Tudor common man's outfit, 16th century, which is about perfect for what he's looking for. And if we click here, you can see technical drawings of the various options. So you can have sleeves or no sleeves, that's what it's telling you. And there's both trousers and hose. Hose were very common for men in this period. So you could do either one.
And my wife here has pretty much insisted that if I'm going to wear anything that she's making, it's going to be hose with feet. It's going to include the feet.
They sound funnier than trousers.
Funnier than trousers. But what about my tattered trouser plan?
You can put those over them.
So we are going to stick with the with those green tattered pants, but as like an emergency option, and you often need spare sets of clothing for things. So they'll be there in the repertoire somewhere.
Did you want to talk about fabric?
Yeah. What does this picture mean? What even are we looking at?
So it's telling you what the patterns are. That's what this is, and then it tells you what fabrics it suggests making the items from. In this case, the shirt, they want 3 to 5 ounce linen. Linen is probably the best choice of fabric for costuming in this period, and medieval through modern, because especially for LARPing, it breathes really well. You don't get overheated when wearing linen, and that's often a big issue otherwise. And it's also the most authentic. People have been using linen for thousands of years. If you can't do linen, cotton is the second best option, but cotton has a tendency to get wet when you get sweaty and then stay wet, and that's uncomfortable. The other option is wool, and you see here the jerkin, they suggest making it in wool, as well as the hose/trousers in wool twill. It says do not use jersey. Jersey is knit, so when you have something that's like stretchy, that's jersey fabric. Twill is a type of woven fabric that's not going to be stretchy. So think of what like a suit pants or a suit jacket is made of. That's what wool twill is.
And from this particular pattern, we're pretty much only looking at the possibility of a vest and the leggings, right? The trousers.
Yeah, it depends. You could do pretty much anything. The other thing it mentions is lining, and that's specifically probably for the jerkin and or the pants. It's unclear from this. Mm-hmm. And then interlining is a thing that you use to make something be heavier and sturdier than it normally would be otherwise.
Like interfacing?
Yeah, but interfacing is a modern thing, and interlining is what they used in the period.
So this is the pattern I'm most excited about, because it also includes the you can see it in the center guy. You can click on his picture so we can like get a closer look at it. The blue part of that guy, that includes the hood, which I think is pretty much a staple for all Lyonesse peasantry.
So somebody made it, and this is their interpretation.
That's definitely the hood. He just has it down.
Yeah.
And then he's
got a probably an arming
cap. Yeah.
Which is the thing you'd wear under a helmet, just to keep the metal off of your head, specifically like chainmail.
Yeah,
otherwise,
because wearing this
on
without
your
something
hair.
protect my hair, just yanks all my hair out.
This is the pattern. The thing that's interesting about this is the tunic here. This is what is called a T-tunic. It's a very, very standard sort of pattern that was worn in short and long versions by men and women for probably 1,000 years.
And that's, like, looking at the picture, it's hard for me to envision that. Is that, like, those are the arms straight out?
Yeah,
Okay.
so it looks funny because when they didn't have, obviously, giant looms weaving their fabric for them. When you buy fabric in modern day, it's usually between 40 and 60 inches wide. A loom that you manually weave something 60 inches wide is going to be as big as this room.
Oh.
They didn't have that. So their fabric was much, much narrower, which meant that all the pieces that you had to be much narrower, and then you had to stitch them together. And then the other thing that comes up is they didn't want to waste any fabric because it was all woven by hand. So you would try to fit as many pieces as you can onto the square by doing all these triangles that would then fit together and to make the whole garment.
And so, like, here's one that we bought for Lindsay. It's actually quite long.
Well, it's a woman's one.
It's a women's one, but it totally works for me. We have plans for this one. Did you want to point out what we were thinking of doing?
We're just gonna cut the sleeves off and the half of the bottom off so that it's more like knee length, and also make it look ragged, so that it looks like a peasant has been wearing it for 10 years.
Okay, yeah.
And this
I'm
uses
just in
the
it now.
same.
I've got to roll up the sleeves I'm wearing underneath, but the length on these is...
The length does not work for him.
Well, which is also hilarious because I'm trying to imagine might have been something that was given to the peasant 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's grown up since then, and now he's like, it's too short.
I mean, they also would have literally done things like find scrap fabric and make the sleeves longer. Yeah, because you don't want to let any fabric go to waste.
Oh, that reminds me about the hood. One of the pictures for Bretonnian peasant mobs in Warhammer 2 involves, like, and it makes perfect sense, like an off-colored, haphazardly attached patch. You know, to cover a hole or a tear that happened in that hood, because it's easier to repair than it is to replace.
Yeah, I'm sure anything that wasn't brand new was patched or stitched together somewhere. And pretty much everyone knew how to repair their clothing, at least at a basic level.
And these are just various accessories.
Yep, this is men's accessories from the 15th century. And as you can see, obviously they all had shirts like this. And then several different hat options. A hood, what's called an acorn hat, and a chaperon, which is literally the French word for hat. And also some braise, which is...
Well, the French word for hat seems appropriate. What does that... Is there a pattern for that?
So here's the things it has patterns for. This is obviously the same pattern that was on the other one, but this has instructions for making like a heavy wool felt hat with this shape. And this one would have been more like just a thick wool or something to keep you warm. I honestly don't know what's going on here. I'd be interested to see what the pattern
I think that might be fun to do, actually.
So I think the acorn hat is more interesting looking, but...
I mean, you said that's the French word for hat, and now I'm sold.
Well, the chaperone, yeah, this one.
Okay, so we talked about possibilities for, you know, hose with feet, you know, possibly making another T-tunic, though. I know that doesn't excite.
T-tunics are incredibly easy and boring.
Right. And we've talked about the hood and weathering everything to make them look old, grody, and worn by a peasant for far too long. Accessories. We haven't talked about shoes yet.
Also, I remember the French word for hat is actually chapeau, but it's very similar to this, and then this is... I'd have to look it up, but it's a good chance that this is a Southern French version or just an older related word. It's definitely a French word.
There they are. Look at those.
So these are your basic peasant leather shoes. They're actually probably nicer than many peasants would have had. They do have a traditional nailed sole, as you can see. They're made of shaped leather that's been stitched together back here.
really kind of straightforward, and we have ways of making them more comfortable and easier to run around with.
A lot of people will take shoes like this with these authentic soles, and if they're not trying to do actual reenactment, they'll then get a hold of like a Vibram type thin sport sole and glue it to the bottom of this so that you get a lot more traction.
Then the only other thing to talk about is arming this peasant the appropriate way, and I've been doing a lot of like research on that. That's a good place to start. Yeah. So this is like about 2 feet long. It's just a simple scythe. I was worried that it looked a little bit too warfare-y and not enough farm-y, but the price here is actually pretty good for a lot of gear and stuff.
Yeah.
At $70.
70 is pretty good for a LARP weapon.
And you're gonna see some ridiculous priced ones in future tabs. I'll show you. Check out Bush Hook. This is at 97 centimeters. This would be really cool. I actually think there was even a picture of a Bretonian peasant using one of these. But go forward a couple more clicks here. One more. That right there would have to be masked. I could do it with like, leather, just kind of wrap like glue and then wrap it around so that it really stays put. Because like there weren't nuts and washers and bolts back then. And again, not a bad price. And at that length, it's about this long, right?
97 centimeters.
1 meter, just shy of 1 meter. Now, this one's ridiculous. That is a shovel. It's a long one, but...
It's a spear-sized shovel.
But the shovel head itself is just so tiny, right? And then... I'm okay with the way it looks. It looks weathered. The attachment looks period appropriate, but the price kills me for what this is. And so the saga continues as far as like how am I going to arm this character. I'm probably going to be dealing with this old-fashioned looking, very traditional axe, and then maybe just a staff, like a stick. Try not to think of it as like a wizard staff, but rather just like a walking stick the guy had or whatever. There's a little bit of shopping to be done and some fabric to be bought. Not much, actually.
I have a whole bunch of cotton linen blend in white that can be dyed to any color that he wants it to be, so most of it doesn't need to be bought. I don't have any wool though, so if we want wool, we have to get that.
And yeah, that's about it. Thank you very much for your expertise. There will be more updates soon as we start, getting stuff in the mail and start putting stuff together. All right? Ta-ta. Love you all. See you guys in the next video.
Bye.